and Hardy on 98.5 The Sports Hub.
Let's go. Good morning, everybody. Good morning. We are Toucher and Hardy. Happy hump day. Getting over that hump on a balmy.
A little sticky out there.
Balmy day here in the Beantown. Look out Sunday, 58 degrees and rain. Right. Memorial Day weekend. If you're planning on doing anything, too bad. You suck. You can watch us on YouTube. Subscribe to 98.5 The Sports Hub on YouTube. You can download the podcast if you would like to hear the show. If you're listening live and you would like to hear the show, download the podcast, all right?
Yeah.
Get with the times,
yeah.
Jack.
Yeah.
Get with the times. Adam, it's very exciting. Today's library day for me.
Oh, delightful.
It moved from Monday because my son's baseball game on Monday. Now I will be at the library.
Newton Free
Library.
Well, maybe you'll run into who you thought was Peter Wolf again.
Oh, nice.
I'm really convinced that was Peter Wolf. I would like to know where Peter Wolf lives.
Well, he's got to be local. I got a press release the other day about he's got something or other happening, and I ignored it completely because F that guy. He could have come on our show and chose not to.
Well, yeah, okay. That would have been... So he's doing press?
I don't know. He's older. He's probably being inducted into some, situation.
Yeah. So... because Steven Tyler got ice cream.
Yeah, he loves ice cream, and he loves going to local businesses.
Yeah, you like that.
Yeah, it's great.
Does he still live in Marshfield? Because as of the writing of his book, like 15, 20 years ago, he was in Marshfield.
Yeah.
So he was down there. But I know Peter Wolf, there's no way he doesn't live in Boston. He's got so much equity in Boston.
Right.
I'm sure he lives here. Do you think he's rich?
Wow, that's a good one.
That's a really good question. I mean, Jay Giles' band sold a lot of records because they were a band at a time when you could sell a lot of records and make a lot of money doing that, and they played out a ton. They would headline the Garden, like as a local band back in the 70s. So I'm guessing probably not filthy rich, but probably comfortable rich.
Okay, they were headlining in the mid 80s too.
Yeah.
I mean, it was a long run there.
Okay, but you're talking about money now. So to my understanding, Jay Giles left the band. He didn't really do anything. Then they brought in a guy who wrote all of the album Freeze Frame. And so he would get the publishing from all those songs, which are the ones that probably made money for them.
And still get played on the radio.
And then Jay Giles sued the band for the name while they were out touring, even though he was just the name. He wasn't the leader of the band or wasn't a writer. And so he sued them successfully for the name so they can't tour as Jay Giles, is my understanding of the situation. So if they can't play as Jay Giles, that means no income's coming in. If he didn't write... Again, I hope he's wealthy. I really do. He has a fascinating life. I listened to his book. But... and then if he didn't write any of the songs on Freeze Frame... I'm wondering how much money is coming in. If you even have one hit album, you get that. The guy from Sugar Ray calls it his teacher salary. You get basically a pension for the rest of your life. You get I think Mark McGrath was saying it's $100,000 or something, $80,000 in royalties every year.
Right.
And so. And that's without licensing the song to something, if that's a possibility. So you get a little bit of... I bet you he gets about that much in royalties. Yeah. I don't know what he wrote.
And he's been in Boston forever. I want to imagine he lives in a brownstone that he's been living in since the late 1970s that he either bought for a song or he's got a deal worked out where he can basically live there for free.
You created a whole thing for him.
One of those old school guys that maybe he's got all those kind of connections so that he doesn't need to bring in.
I'd like to see him in his second floor condo, not necessarily in the Fenway, but I feel like he's more South End situation.
Yeah, right on the South End back.
I thought he was a North End guy.
Huh? I don't know.
I mean,
where did
he used to hang in the North End.
Where did he live when he lived with David Lynch? I think he was over in the Back Bay.
Well, that was in college.
Yeah.
So that would be in like the 40s. So I don't know if he's still in that place.
But you fall in love with the neighborhood. Maybe he's not in the same place. Maybe he stays in the same neighborhood.
But he was married to Faye Dunaway after that and living in New York City. So you can erase the David Lynch thing as much as that gives you an erection. That was a very brief moment in time for Mr. Peter Wolf.
But an important one.
I don't know if it was very important for him because he didn't know that he had roomed with David Lynch until years later.
Fair.
Now, if you go...
He didn't remember.
If you go to the Cambridge Historical Society webpage, which I'm sure we do even if you don't have it bookmarked, you
Certainly.
just, it pops right up. The Peter Wolf apartment has its own entry on historycambridge.org. And this is just blocks away from Club 47. Wolf invited performers to use the apartment rather than the cramped club dressing room between sets. His friendship with Muddy Waters meant that the Wolf apartment also housed members of the Muddy Waters Blues Band when they played in the Cambridge area. They hosted parties when the club would shut down for the night. With folk music at the heart, similar parties nationwide became known as hootenannies or hoots.
Okay.
So that is all from the
Cambridge. Hoots, right. Rocky Suarez is in a jug band, pun intended. And so the gang gets together and it's just like, pick up whatever you want, who cares? We're looking at those cans jiggling. Anything but the accordion. Don't cover up those two casabas, right? Those two heavy hangers.
Don't play the washboard either. That covers everything. I don't need that.
Someone had a Jugs magazine when they were a kid, so they know a million different ways to say boobs. He did co-write Freeze Frame. He probably got a little bit of money. But see, my point is where Peter Wolf lives, and I'm sure that this is fascinating for the audience, is that why would he be in Newton? That's the thing. The Newton Free Library in the periodical section, that's the hook. But I'm almost certain that it was him. 75% sure. And we locked eyes, and then he gave a double take as if, like, do I recognize this guy? He didn't know who I was, but like, he'd seen that face before, which is, how most people look at me that live around here. I know I don't like him.
Face that launched 1,000 takes.
By the way, Peter Wolf also responsible for the pee on the wall, but you know the word they use.
Yeah, the flip to the flop.
Which my mom would not let me buy the Freeze Frame album because of that. Yet, I had a Number of the Beast poster on my wall at that time when I was 6 years old. And I might have had the Sex Pistols, never mind the Bollocks, when I was 6 years old. But she wouldn't let me buy Freeze Frame.
Yeah, because she found it coarse.
And I remember going to school and for maybe the last time in my life admitting something that made me look bad and saying that I did not have the Freeze Frame album. There's this book that was suggested to me by a listener about this jazz saxophonist which is apparently this memoir that's like one of the craziest music memoirs of all time.
Who?
He's a Los Angeles white guy. I can't remember the name off the top of his head. I just read the introduction last night. But anyway, in the introduction, it's not written by him, obviously. And they said he has the narcissistic tendency to overshare. And then I wondered, I'd never heard that before. And so I wonder if that's a symbol of my narcissism.
Oh yeah, that's one of the telltale signs.
But then I don't understand how you cannot be a narcissist, because either way, you're either oversharing or you're not sharing, and then isn't that all narcissistic? Like sometimes there seems to be a catch-22. If you understand the phrase.
If you think that everything about your life is interesting, you need to overshare, and that people are clamoring for more about you because it's all about you. Yes, that would be narcissism. I don't know why undersharing would be a symptom of it also.
Like you're too good to give anyone any information. I can give you examples of narcissism when people are hiding things.
Go ahead. Oh.
So kind of walked right into that. I wasn't even expecting it.
But I did think that was an interesting thing because like this guy's like going crazy about how good the book is in the introduction, but he's saying how like narcissistic it was for him to overshare. And I don't know how you overshare in a memoir. It's inherently about you. I guess it's like such a confessional. Like he admits to like terrible crimes.
See, I didn't think about it.
Like stuff you don't admit to.
Right, but I don't think about it.
He was still alive.
It's an interesting statement, makes you think about things outside of a memoir. Of course, in a memoir, that's what a memoir is for.
But he's referring to the memoir and like that he's so narcissistic that he overshares in the memoir.
Well, if you know that you're a narcissist, are you really a narcissist?
Kaboom.
How about that? Like Howard Stern, I think, is there anyone who would argue that in addition to being, the greatest radio guy ever, is also a narcissist? But I don't think Howard truly believes that or thinks that he is.
But he's in a position where he has to talk about his life. Like, that's the thing, is that he's got to go on the radio and talk about his life. I don't know what he's like off the air.
But he was like that before he was in a position where he had to do it. He was always talking about all aspects of his life, and that is a telltale sign of his narcissism. The fact that he goes to therapy still 5 days a week.
Look, all I know is that from the on-air stuff is that you can't go by that necessarily because that's what's made him successful. His sharing honestly or whatever it is about his life has made him successful. That's sort of what radio is that like opportunity to like have the audience feel like they're a part of your life, even though they're not, which can be annoying sometimes because then people think that they like know everything and then they make assumptions based on that, and then an assumption based on that assumption. I've told about this before, is that you'll hear things and they're like 6 degrees from something that never happened, and they've added 5 other things that never happened on top of it. Well, if this must have happened, then this must happen. If this must have happened, this is true. And it gets to be this like convoluted sea of like misinformation. And it's all based on an assumption because like you shared it about your life, but you're also on the radio where you have to make it entertaining. So it's I don't know. Chances are I would guess Howard Stern's very narcissistic. But I don't know, was he a narcissist before he had great success sharing about his life? That would be an interesting foray into it. He's definitely, I would think, narcissistic based on his ability to blame his parents for everything to this day. Like, I think that's a lot. That,
when does one become a narcissist? Are you born with it, or is it something that you develop into?
Right. Like, so, a stand-up comic that talks about their life crafts like a good 70 minutes, and they go around for a year doing that 70 minutes. Howard Stern has to be funny about his life, or did have to be funny about his life, 5 days a week, 23 hours a week. I mean, and then you get rewarded for that. And then so you have to keep doing it. And then I wonder if that spills out when you have that level of success.
Starts, feeding the demon. Yeah.
Because if you were like, Fred, you're a narcissist, I would be like, probably. But if you would go, it's because of what you say on the air, I'd be like, well, then what do you want me to do? Like, I don't know how to fill this time successfully and how to be funny necessarily without giving my perspective or sharing from my experience. Do you understand?
How about breaking down the ball game? You ever think about doing that?
Yeah, but beyond my abilities, you have to know your weaknesses as a narcissist, and that would be one. As much as I would love to delve into the Red Sox for 4 hours, I literally couldn't do it. Not because it's boring or I don't want to, but because I couldn't. I could literally not fill the time. I couldn't fill the time if we went pitch by pitch because there's not 4 hours of pitches. I don't know how I would do it. This is not being above it either. Felger and Maz talk about sports for 4 hours a day, and they're great. I couldn't do it. Not because I wouldn't want to, but because I couldn't. And I knew that going into sports radio. I knew I could not do that. So I had to find the happy medium and had to discuss that happy medium with management every day for a year or two. Which in retrospect, maybe it was longer, but in retrospect, it was probably good.
Went like this: you need to do blank, and you said, "I can't."
Yes,
I won't. I will do this instead.
In retrospect, having to meet with management every day when the Sports Hub met is probably good because it kept management in the loop.
Yeah.
And then, there was a relationship there. So I think that was a good thing. And I didn't mind it at the time. I didn't mind it on a consistent basis. I didn't go home and ruminate over how much I hated meeting with management. I mean, I'm sure it annoyed me, and I'm sure at times that it pissed me off, but I don't recall, John can tell me, I don't recall constantly being annoyed by it.
No. There were flare-ups, but you would expect that. You went in and did something that you thought was pretty good, and then Mike would call you in and say, don't do that, and you're like, well, you don't understand what I'm trying to do, that kind of stuff, but that was rare. That wasn't constant.
And I would have very one-on-one, very involved conversations with Mike about it, where he would listen to me, and then he would give his point of view, and I would listen to him about... I remember very early in the show, he had a problem with something innocuous, and I was like, well, when you buy Sports Illustrated, they'll do a feature story on someone, but it's not about, 5% of it is about in-game stuff, and the rest is, about their personality and about off-the-court stuff. And I was, kind of giving that as an example of not being overly indulgent on breaking down the actual games, and I thought that was a positive conversation because at first he was hesitant, but then I think I might have.
Well, everyone was under a lot of pressure, and there was only one way that sports radio had been done up until that point. So, I think that was part of it. Yes.
You said it, not me.
Yes.
John feeds the narcissism.
John came from that side of the fence and recognized what the problem was.
There's a lot of pressure on John. That's what I took away from that. He had a lot of pressure.
Now I'm a narcissist?
You had a lot of pressure on you, John. For this station to succeed.
Right.
You know what? Long overdue. Congratulations.
John was walking into a situation blind. You got to give John a little credit.
John had no clue.
No, John didn't know what was.
On account of his thick glasses?
No, because he hadn't lost his hearing yet. He was almost entirely.
It's true. I had two working ears at the time.
He was almost entirely dependent on his hearing for sensory. Dan, go ahead.
Well, parents of our upbringing, and you've mentioned how your father could not tell a joke and doesn't understand humor, so you've developed a good way of being funny and telling jokes. So I just want to give you a little digital hug and say, you're doing good, Freddie. You're doing good. You made me proud. Okay?
You should have said you were my father, and Dan, maybe that would have healed a lot of things. No, my father has an inability to be funny, like an absolute inability. And I don't hear him laugh very often. It's almost eerie how unfunny he is. Like, completely unfunny. Like, he doesn't say anything remotely resembling anything funny, even when he's trying. And zero sense of humor. I've never seen him consume comedy. Ever.
Really?
Never. Never seen him watch a comedy movie. Never seen him watch a sitcom.
Whoa.
No, never. He used to watch C-SPAN. C-SPAN, which no one's going to know. C-SPAN showed the Senate. What do you mean the Senate? They had a fixed camera on the Senate.
Yeah.
And so for all day, it would just be the Senate. I don't know what the hell he was looking for. But he would watch that. He would watch that in sports.
It's almost like he was hiding from it. You know how hard it is to avoid sitcoms and stand-up comedy, and over the course of your life, that's really hard to do.
I swear on everything I love, that I don't recall him ever watching a situation comedy. I don't recall him ever watching TV, like regular TV. I'm sure he did before cable, and who knows what he was doing. He wasn't around. I mean, he lived in the house, but he would be in his room or he'd be out of town. So, he wasn't really around a lot. So, I don't know really what he did. He didn't, sit down in the living room and, watch TV with us. Like he was gone. He was gone like 3 days a week. Hardy's dad traveled a lot too, but he was gone all the time. So like he had another family. No, if it was anyone else, I'd go, you probably had another family, but there's no way that my dad had another family.
My dad didn't travel a lot, but he wasn't home a lot.
Okay.
He got his mail at a restaurant called Bedell's. That's where he spent most of his time.
My friend Ryan, his dad was never home. He was at the Franklin Country Club. Not Country Club, Tennis Club, but he wasn't playing a lot of tennis.
Yeah.
He was at the Franklin Tennis Club.
Yeah.
In quotations. Like, where's your dad been for the last 3 days? Oh, he's at the Franklin Tennis Club. He sleeps there? Okay.
That is the exact opposite. It's so strange to hear you say that because my dad, like, he didn't sit down and, like, watch comedy movies. It wasn't like he put Richard Pryor on. But my dad was known, like, his whole life for knowing every joke. And he could, if you told a joke to my father, he would have 5 more because he just had, like, a mind that kept every joke in his head. And he would tell, he knew all the jokes. He would tell all the jokes at his memorial when people got up and told jokes. Mm-hmm. At least I tried to get people to do that because that's what he would have loved and wanted. And so it was constantly like that. I think on their honeymoon, my mom and dad went and saw a red fox.
Wow.
They got married in Las Vegas. And it's like, that's how they chose to spend their time. I mean, that was...
Wow.
So for him, it's
ribald.
The polar opposite of your upbringing, Fred.
Oh, yeah.
My dad was constantly, always, with jokes.
Because I would listen, because on road trips, I would listen to like comedy tapes and stuff, and I don't recall him being anything but annoyed. So, no, I didn't. He never consumed.
You didn't watch
comedy.
Hee Haw?
No, I don't recall. That's Hee Haw's at the very beginning of my memory. Hee Haw, like, I recall hating it, but I was very, very little. I knew I wanted no part of it. That's all I know. That was one of the first shows that I recall going, ooh, I don't like this at all. And I used to watch Solid Gold when I was little and go back and try to see how you consume
Danny
that.
Terrio?
Yeah, you want to feel old. Go watch Solid Gold and go, that was on TV when I was alive for like a long time.
Danny Terrio was Dance Fever.
Oh, Dance Fever.
Dionne Warwick, I believe, was Solid Gold.
And then Danny Terrio replaced by Adrian Zmed.
Oh, is that right? I didn't know that.
Yeah, this Zmed man. Let's go, dude. Let's share a tub with some chicks. All right, we'll be back in just a moment with everything that happened last night.
Did you catch a game last night?
Toucher and Artie. What happened last night's brought to you by Leonard Hair Transplant Associates, where your hair doesn't have to be a game of what happens. So change your lettuce and change your life with Dr. Matthew Lepresti at 1-800-GET-HAIR. Hardy, what occurred last evening?
Red Sox in Kansas City for the second of 3. And once again, this team so poor on defense in the early goings this season, starting to show themselves, John Wallach.
Sucked into left field, driving Duran back, still back, leaping up, and Duran able to make a fantastic play. Leaping up at the last second, it looked like it was right over his head.
This catch.
That is a heck of a play.
Wow.
So much so that now the narrative is changing for the Red Sox. Duran, after the game, said...
Yeah, I mean, like Wilson said, defense is something we can control. We can always be in the right spots and make the plays for our pitchers and help back them up. We haven't been scoring a lot of runs for them, but we can always get their back on defense, and that's something we hold our hat on.
Yeah,
they makes up for not scoring.
They have been first month of the season they were atrocious fielding the baseball. Now they are fantastic. They are really, really good all over the place. So I can't say anything negative about it. Jarren Duran made a couple of really good plays in the outfield. That call you played saved a run in a 1-0 game.
Well,
so
it's interesting. The new manager, he said, we're going to do infield, outfield. He said, you guys are going to take ground balls, fly balls.
Hey, go figure.
He's like, I'm going to have a guy hit fungos to the infield, a guy hit fungos to the outfield. He goes, here we go. Repetition. And the team responded. They were like, we haven't done infield, outfield. We haven't taken ground balls in 2 years. We get to the games and we're all rusty. And, that was what it took. It took
Valentine-esque.
It took innovation from the team.
So, yes, you're right, John. They were not scoring a lot of runs, and the Red Sox did have the lead, but courtesy of less than crowd-pleasing RBI singles until.
Swinging a high fly ball, right field deep. That's way back into the corner. She's sailing. She is gone. Home run, Jaron Duran.
Why is the
What a
ball
night
that's
for
being
him.
batted around by men a woman?
That's a good question.
Oh, good catch,
question.
Fred.
I don't know if you want
Home run, Jaron Duran.
Do you want to go after Nesson? That's very possible. I don't like that.
That's way back into the corner. She's sailing.
Oh, boy.
Yeah.
Boy.
Hey, not so great. And now that ball, she's the property of whoever catches her, whatever man.
Oh, I don't like this at all.
No.
Big problem.
I don't know if you want to sue Nesson, but I mean, I guess you could. Boycott him if you really want to. I wouldn't say that.
Start with a strongly worded letter sent via mail.
Get your friends together and start an online petition.
That ninth inning 3-run blast from Jaron Duran would put the Sox up 6-1. They would hold on to win 7-1 last night. And the champ, how'd you do it with that ball that you hit out?
Just trying to have a good approach. I mean, it was a really good changeup, and I just got in my area and put a good swing on it and just happened to be a homer.
I'm so modest.
Nice.
Maybe not so modest. It was a really good changeup. Okay.
So that is 2 in a row. They will win this series. We know that.
The second series they've won since Chad Tracy took over.
That's right.
Good for them.
They will wrap up this set tonight. Sox improved to 21-27 on the season.
Still making mistakes, but the pitching is really, really good. Again, Ranger Suarez was all over the place last night. Didn't make it out of the fifth inning. The bullpen was spectacular. Jaron Duran made two great. This was a truly great evening for Jaron Duran. He was thrown out trying to steal second. He was thrown out trying to stretch a double into a triple, and yet came back and hit a home run and made two great defensive plays. Red Sox left the bases loaded in the second inning, had the bases loaded, 1 out, and the second and third place hitters come into the plate and did not score early. But they did enough to win, which is different than what they've been doing recently.
Well, they did way more than enough to win, sad sack.
Yep.
They won 7-1.
They did. An offensive explosion.
For them, yeah, it's the first time in 3 series that they've scored over 3 runs. So
yes.
Congratulations to them.
No, the sad sacks are in Cleveland this morning.
Yeah, this is funny because I think we're all in the same boat. You went to sleep going, wow, Cleveland won game 1.
Yeah.
They're not always great in game 1 to get a lot of rest before the series, and then you wake up.
Yeah, because despite a 22-point fourth quarter lead with less than 8 minutes to go, the New York Knicks said not so fast.
Back toward midcourt. Brunson right wing again. Steps back, finds Bridges, far corner three-pointer. Hits again. 2 clutch threes from Mikal Bridges.
And Jalen Brunson doing all sorts of Jalen Brunson things.
Behind the back, right wing, off the dribble 3. He got it! Jalen Brunson is not human right now. It's a 5-point game with 3:30 to go, and Kenny Atkinson calls timeout.
Once again, so what was the run that they went on, John? It wasn't a.
It was they were down 22 with 7:45 to go. They closed the game on a 30-8 run.
30-8.
And then finished up 44-11 to finish the game.
Yeah, Donovan Mitchell had 29 points, but he did not score starting at with 8 minutes left in the fourth quarter or something. He just stopped scoring.
Well, they stopped. I was reading about this morning because I went to sleep. I didn't see the last 8 minutes or overtime. They apparently stopped trying to get the ball to him and fired up more than their fair share of 3-pointers.
Yeah, I guess they were trying to run the clock out, and they stopped moving the ball. Is what, again, John and I are giving you third-hand information, but that's apparently what happened. Is that the coach after the game was talking about, Cleveland's coach was talking about how they had not been, they just the ball stuck, and he didn't call timeouts apparently correctly, and there was a whole situation.
Jalen Brunson made every clutch shot. He finished with 38 points.
Oh, I wonder if people are going to make a big to-do about that nationally.
I know.
They love that.
All right. It really. I thought it's the first thing I thought about when I woke up this morning. I heard about the comeback. I said, "Oh, this is going to be insufferable."
Oh, first thing I read this morning, I forget from which writer it was, and he was tweeting this out in the middle of the game. The game hadn't been over yet. It said, that plaza is not going to be big enough for the statue they're going to erect of this guy.
Well, he's not very big.
But
you don't have to build that big a statue.
I know, but it's
more wide than it is tall.
But watching the highlights and seeing what Brunson did last night, if you just heard what Kenny Atkinson said, like if you read it, you would. This might rub you the wrong way. But when you saw what Brunson did last night, it kind of makes sense.
They hit some really tough shots in that fourth quarter. You know, those 2 threes, prayer threes, end of shot clock. I think we got a little unlucky, quite honestly. Brunson obviously took over at the end, and you know, we started double teaming him and try to do some different things. But listen, I'm super proud of the way our group played.
Okay, you can stop right there. But to say, oh, we got unlucky because of the way Jalen Brunson played, kind of. I mean, he was out of his mind.
But we saw that during the Celtics series last year. You know, he never, in a clutch situation, he never turns the ball over. He always makes the shot. I mean, well, I don't know where you would place him, a top 5 clutch performer in the NBA right now. He is, you know, he's going to come through for you in a game like that. He's really something.
Well, the probability of Cleveland winning at one point, according to ESPN, was 99.9%.
Yeah.
And then the game flow was at one point.
Yeah, what were the game flow stats?
Well, 97-93 game flow. I take it that's just the score of the game. But they call it game flow.
Yeah.
And you can run your cursor over it, and it gives you many numbers of game flow.
That's cool.
Yeah, and in lines and numbers. So you can feel like you're gambling based on information in real time.
Donovan Mitchell, other than you not being able to, get your hands on the basketball or score for a huge chunk at the end of that game, what happened?
It was a little comfortable. We could have done some things collectively, and we did, and that's on us. But ultimately, can do nothing about it now. We got to go out there and watch the film and fix it for game 2.
Yeah, I don't think that you're going to win the series.
Here's what I
29
fear.
points. He was a -13 last night.
Yeah, not great.
This is what I fear. The 2 teams that I wanted to see in the Eastern Conference Finals eliminated, and quite possibly by teams that will not show up for their next round opponent. Now, Cleveland obviously showed up because they had a 22-point lead in the fourth quarter, but could you see them now getting swept?
Oh, sure. Oh, absolutely.
Yeah,
I mean,
they
that.
choked. They choked last night.
That is completely demoralizing what happened to them last night.
If you're going to create a definition for choking, that's it. They had a 22-point lead. They sat on it instead of being aggressive, and it cost them. Like they choked it away. They stopped doing what gave them that lead, and then they mismanaged the game, and they lost. I mean, you really have to mismanage a game to lose that kind of lead. I mean, you could do the math of it, but what do you have to score? Like a bucket for every 3 buckets they score? I mean, it's not the hardest thing in the world. It's just, I guess they just stopped. And when you stop like that and protect the lead, you choke it away. Yes, Jonathan.
It is the second largest fourth quarter comeback in NBA playoff history since they started tracking play-by-play.
Well, that was in 2023.
And then,
before they had game
since
flow.
1997. No, I didn't have game flow back then.
No.
And largest playoff comeback in Knicks postseason history.
All right. Okay, well, then I look forward to hearing about that forever. We'll be back in just a moment. Here are the headlines.
Why do people listen to Touch
Because it's a thing.
All right.
You know what I'm talking about.
Sure.
No idea what you're talking about.
Here's more of The Thing on the Sports Hub.
Hey, we are Toucher and Hardy. And the Celtics are no longer in the playoffs, if you didn't know. And there is talk of exciting things this offseason, and has created a lot of debate. Giannis is looking to be traded, and Milwaukee is looking to trade him. And the Celtics, you heard Brad Stevens after the season say that they aren't good enough to compete for a championship right now, which to his credit, he seemed to have known all season. So what are they to do? Well, Hardy, Chris Mannix, who does our show from time to time, has a very strong opinion on this.
He does indeed.
Could there be a conversation about Giannis in Boston? Yes, I think there could be a conversation about him this summer. I can't say this emphatically enough. It would be insanity for the Celtics to do a deal like that. Insanity. On paper, sure. Giannis might be better than Jaylen Brown. Probably is better than Jaylen Brown. At 100%, Giannis is still one of the best two-way players in the game. But over the last couple of years, Giannis has not shown that he's healthy. He's battled soft tissue injuries over the last 2 years.
Chris Mannix going on to say that not only should they not trade for Giannis, but even if I guess he just said, even if you could make a case for him being the better two-way player than Jaylen Brown, the injuries and the soft tissue nature of them just tells you that this is not going away. And this is going to be a problem for his availability for a long time. And if you're looking at a window for the Celtics with Jason Tatum there, you don't trade away Jaylen Brown and replace him with Giannis if you want to maximize your Jason Tatum window.
And the other part of it is, not only is Giannis 3 years older than Jaylen Brown, he absolutely is a better player when he's healthy, but it's the contract that he's going to want once he gets here. After next season, he is eligible for a 4 or 5 year extension worth $200 and $300 million. I mean, I can't see the Celtics having an appetite for that. It's too much. The injury risk plus the money on the back end, and Jaylen Brown still signed for 3 more years. He's still in the prime of his career while Giannis is exiting that while injury prone. I don't like that deal either.
But what about Tatum and Brown? That doesn't work. It doesn't work. You've tried it. I do get a little tired of this narrative because it kind of gets to that, oh, you only won the one championship, which seems a little obnoxious. You made it to the finals another time with these two, and Mannix says, no, it does work.
You know that Tatum and Brown work. You know they're a championship duo. Why, oh why, would you ever consider breaking that up? Because you went out in the first round in a season that no one thought you were even going to make the playoffs in, much less look like the number two, one of the best teams in the Eastern Conference. There could be some calls that could take place. I would expect there will be. But if I'm the Celtics, nope, hard pass. Jaylen Brown is on my team next year.
Okay, well, the Celtics lost in the first round of the playoffs with the team that they were, if Tatum was healthy, everyone thought they would win the East. And by the way, when they won a championship, it wasn't just Tatum and Brown. They had a lot of players around them, and they were spending an assload of money that wasn't sustainable. Chad Finn has an article about why they should trade for Giannis. He's 3 months older than Kevin Garnett was when the Celtics got him. If he says that the 9-year overlap of their careers, Brown, you could make the argument that Brown was better last year, but while Brown averaged more points per game by a point, Giannis beat him in rebounds, assists, and blocks per game and turned it over less than Jaylen Brown. So even in a year where Jaylen Brown was better, Giannis beat him in almost every statistical category. And so also you're not winning a championship because you look, Brown's 29 and you lost in the first round. Brad Stevens knows this isn't about adding a couple pieces around them. This is, you got to shake things up, and and the only way you can do that is by getting rid of one of the two. And I told you, the older I get, the more I see teams I like sit on their hands, and the more I see opportunities be peed away. And then you get to the end of it and you go, well, congratulations. We had these two guys on our team for 15 years and we won a championship early in their careers and they never got back. I mean, you just dismissed that they lost to the Knicks last year. You dismissed that they lost in the first round this year. It's two big swings during their prime. Listen, I'll listen to your argument about not getting rid of Brown, but the idea that this, for Giannis, right? Mm-hmm. But the idea that these two need to play together for the rest of their lives is fool's gold. Then if they lose in the playoffs in the first 2 rounds next year, do you go, okay, now we'll make a move and no one's available? I mean, at what point do you go, okay, well, these guys don't have it together. Brown's on making streams. he's obviously going out of his mind. Something's bugging him. I don't know if this isn't the time to make the move.
I would like to see those two guys paired up with a better big man. Neemias Queta, while a nice story, obviously was not any match for Joel Embiid. That's stating the obvious, but it's true. A healthy Joel Embiid, a motivated Joel Embiid, Neemias Queta, and whoever else they threw in there had no chance.
Okay, so who are you going to get?
Well, that leads me to my next point. I don't know where this next big man is going to be, but I think that will be Brad Stevens' focus to find a better big man and run it back instead of making the trade for Giannis.
If you add Mitchell Robinson, who's a free agent, this is according to Chad Finn, does that make them a title? Do you think they'll win the title? Do you think they'll win the title? Do you think they'll beat Oklahoma or San Antonio?
No, I don't.
Do you think if Giannis is healthy and it's Giannis and Tatum, that there is a chance that they could beat Oklahoma City or San Antonio?
There is a chance.
All right,
there is a chance.
Just by saying those words, you are not dismissing the possibilities of that trade. Now, you, again, might not believe that it's the right thing to do, but you've just given a point in favor of making it.
This is what I fear, though, Fred. You know how we sit here and talk about all these things. Oh, it's not going to work. It's not going to work. Everyone said it's not going to work, and lo and behold, it didn't work. So many people say and think that if you get Giannis here, he's not going to be available, he's not going to be healthy, and he won't be there, as you just said. With a healthy Giannis and a healthy Jason Tatum, sure, I like their chances at beating a lot of teams. But I don't think he's going to be there. I don't think he's health-wise, he's going to be available.
I think you might be surprised how much Giannis plays on a good team. I wonder how much Giannis not playing last year had to do. Remember, he wanted to play, and they didn't want to play him. First of all, at the end of the season. And so, I wonder how much being on a good team, all of a sudden these soft tissue injuries become a little less unbearable for him.
However, if you look at the games played, he's not playing 75 games a year either. He's always good for taking 15 or 20 games off.
All right, fine. Big deal. So you're the number 3 seed in the East. Who cares?
But
as long as he plays in the playoffs.
I'm not saying he's not a great player. He is, but Hardy's right.
But you're acting like not playing 15 games a year is somehow a reason not to get him. Fine. Yeah, who cares? That's right. Look, sit on your hands at your own detriment. Or you listen to me and you shake things up, baby. Can't be any worse than losing the first round of Philadelphia. Anything that happens next year can't be as bad as losing the first round of Philadelphia. I'd rather not make the playoffs. At least you get a good pick.
You throw it out there like you talk about shaking things up with the Red Sox. And the Celtics are in a much better position than the Red Sox.
I don't know. They lost in the first round to Philadelphia, who lost every game to New York by 75 points, and they got swept. I can't tell you how bad it was. Terrible. They lost 2 games. Game 6 and 7 to an inferior crap team.
Fred, they took him to Game 7. What else do you want him to do?
I don't know. Win Game 6 or 7. That would be a good thing against the team,
or 5 for that matter.
Right? Exactly. Oh, that's right. I apologize, John. I forgot to throw in 5.
They could have won Game 5.
They had a broken down center comes in for Philadelphia, and then all of a sudden it screws everything up for 3 games, and they can't recover. That's not great. Embiid's not a 26-year-old Kareem, Lou Alcindor out there. I mean, Embiid's fine, but you couldn't figure out how to. That was such a wrecking ball that you couldn't recover from that.
Well, he's really tall,
right? If only we had a tall guy on the team.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of guys that they've traded for Porzingis that can't play, and people are very excited to get Porzingis. I'm wondering how hurt Giannis is for the next team he goes to. That's all. All right, we'll be back in just a moment. Adam has something for us about the way these games are being presented to us. We will have that in just a moment.
Well, that leads me to my next point. I don't